Hello, and welcome to another episode of Purlfect Pairings. My name is Gayann, she, her.
And my name is Nicole, and my pronouns are she and her.
We'd like to start today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are recording today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders, past and present. We acknowledge the often fraught relationship between farming in Australia and Indigenous land rights. We also acknowledge the contribution of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people to the fibre arts community over the millennia.
And today we're going to start just with a little bit of quick admin. So please, you know the drill, don't you? Subscribe to our channel. It helps it get in front of more faces. Please like this episode if you do in fact like this episode. And please comment. We love to read your comments.
Love to read your comments. I love responding to comments and reaching out to people and just creating those connections. We have such a rich community of fiber loving people that we would love to reach. So please let us know you're out there.
Yeah, please. Yeah, join in the conversation. And as a bit of a response to some of the comments, I guess maybe more from people that we know personally, we're going to try a bit of a different format.
Something new.
Yeah. So we love watching vlogs or podcasts on knitting. They're often quite long. And a few people that we know have sort of said, you know, it's really hard to commit an hour and a half to watching an episode of really, you know, anything really. It's like a feature-length film. So we're going to start doing more regular, shorter episodes focusing on different areas. So today we're going to talk about our whips. We've got a couple of fun whips and a couple of new acquisitions to show you. And we'll be doing finish offs in another, finished objects in another episode, interviews as standalones.
Interviews interspersed as well with some episodes about highlighting different designers that you may know about or may not know about. Some people can tend to get into a rut with knitting by a certain designer, which is totally fabulous, but you might want to learn about someone new.
Branch out. And look, if you've got any other ideas for sort of some regular content that could be sort of 20-minute, half an hour episodes, nice little watch on your commute kind of episodes is what we're going to try and go for. We'll try not to talk too much. And yeah, but we'd love to hear from you. We'd love some ideas. Yes. So,
well, shall we get stuck into it?
Let's whip.
Sorry. I've had my allergies are acting up today, so
yeah, and we've just been out of Melbourne in the country for a bit, so
all right.
Well,
I feel like we should just have a 1, 2, 3 show this.
1, 2, yeah, let's do it. All right.
1, 2,
3
show this.
Ta-da!
Here they are.
Paul Klee.
Twinning.
Obviously. So gorgeous pattern by Midori Hirose.
Yeah,
a really incredibly talented Japanese designer. And we are both working on our Paul Klee. So I am a little bit more advanced, just because I've been more focused on this lately.
Well, I couldn't decide what colors that my color order, so I finally did a bit of a gradient, dark to light, then back to the dark,
and it's beautiful. It's very lovely and
Oh.
very appropriate for your pink love.
I love these colors, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Whereas
Yours?
mine's a bit more random, rather like me.
But they all gel. All of your colors are just it's fabulous.
So I've just separated the sleeves, and we were talking about this earlier. I'm very short, so I tend to knit things up quite quickly because I don't have a lot of body length. And yeah, so
that's interesting. Mine, I'm making
plugging along quite quickly.
So yours, you're saying, is between a size extra small and a small. I've decided to knit the M2, so the second medium size.
They start off the same though.
Is it 4? You have 4 stitches. 4 stitches.
Yeah. So at the top of this, I think from, I might have it slightly wrong. I think from XXS to medium 2 are the same, and then they change at the point at which you
this bottom bit here.
You add on for just before you separate for the sleeves.
It's funny, it just looks so much bigger on
I think
mine.
You're a looser knitter than
possibly.
I am. Yeah, I don't gauge people. I try things on and then kind of go, I'll keep adding. I'll add a what are we calling it when you expand? Make extra stitches. That's all I've got.
Them on.
Add them on.
Add the stitches.
Words, basic words. Anyway,
I've got engaged. I have spot on got engaged in this. Once I've started this stockinette part, so
I haven't checked.
We're both using Holst Supersoft,
which is not super soft at the moment.
It's not super soft at the moment. I'm really looking forward to soaking it and seeing what happens.
It's beautiful colours, and it is a lovely. It's merino and Shetland.
Hold on, I've got one right here.
Shetland, I think. Anyway, so it should be soft, but it is a yarn that has the spinning oils and some of the dye left in to reduce the production costs, which does make it a really beautiful, affordable yarn for doing projects like this, particularly when you need to buy 18 different colours. It comes in nice little 50-gram balls, but it is quite crunchy. So it's going to be like an ugly duckling transformation when we do finally get to soak these.
I reckon. I just love that they have so many options. Their color, they had so many color options. It was almost overwhelming.
So I have another whip. I probably wouldn't have another whip, except that I had to fly to Brisbane to see family last week, and I am too scared. I think you are allowed on Australian Airlines to travel with metal knitting needles, but I'm too scared that if I do, I'll have them confiscated, and then because I'm an early airport goer, I'm usually at the airport 2 hours early, and then it's a 2.5-hour flight from Melbourne to Brisbane. 4.5 hours without knitting is way too long. So I needed a project that I had bamboo needles for, because they're less likely to be confiscated, or they're pretty much unlikely to be confiscated at an airport. They're probably less dangerous than a pencil.
Let's just pause there.
Yes.
I have actually looked this up on Australian Border Force website, as well as for the US, because when I flew internationally last year, I wanted to take my knitting, and it says that knitting needles are permitted. I did, in an abundance of caution, bring bamboo, not metal, and I've never had a problem with that. If you have a different experience, I think it'd be really lovely for you to share that, if you could, in a comment. That way we can kind of get the heads up about what countries may or may not be more or less needle friendly.
I've also had no problem in France. So I've had no problem in France. But again, I always pack bamboo needles because they are not going to show up as a metal object on an X-ray. They're just going to show up looking like a pencil. I did read a great comment on a Facebook thread, I think, that one person suggested that you pack your needles in a makeup bag on your carry-on, because then they just look like eyebrow pencils or a brush or any of those other things. So if you're worried. Anyway, so I needed bamboo I wanted bamboo needle project for the flight.
Mm-hmm.
My Klee, it uses very fine needles, 3mm needles for the main stockingette stitch body part of it. And I am a needle minimalist, so I only have one pair.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I think I have like...
She's a needle maximist.
Yeah.
So I pulled out, I had to start a project that I A, had the yarn for, and B, had the needles for. And it so happened that I have 4mm bamboo needles, and it was exactly what I needed to start the Javelin sweater by, I think it's pronounced Teti Lutzak or Teti Lutzak, who is a stunning designer, really gorgeous textured patterns, and I think she's from the Ukraine.
I want to squish this.
Oh, go.
I have the pattern for the Javelin shawl, which is on in my queue, but that's beautiful. What kind of rib is that? Oh wait, no.
It's a really crazy rib. It's not a rib. It's you start the pattern right from the top. So even, it's really interesting. It's got at the front, it's got just maybe...
Is that twisted rib?
Center, yeah, it is twisted. Twisted rib type thing, but it's not a true rib. So at the front you've got maybe only 1 centimetre. At the back...
the short rows.
The short rows are actually also part of the twisted rib.
It's gorgeous.
So it's got beautiful texture at the top. I wish I was a little bit further along. It's not a lot to show. It's kind of like a headband at the moment. But it's stunning. And I am using this gorgeous... I'm a bit of a fan of Life in the Long Grass.
We crushed on them.
Big crush, big crush. So prior to Christmas, I didn't buy myself an advent calendar. Didn't get one. Didn't buy my... I did. I ended up inheriting Gayann's leftovers. But I decided to do a Life in the Long Grass purchase direct from their online shop instead of getting an advent. So I've got this beautiful DK, which is ultra squishy, and it is in the Autumn Leaves colorway, which is kind of a slight variegated tonal brown and gold.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's got a lovely luster to it.
Yeah, beautiful squishy project. So I'm looking forward to making more progress on that. It's actually a real problem at the moment because I have 2 sweaters that I really want to work on. I think I'll probably do this one first though, because we're heading into spring in Australia. In fact, well, we're not. Well, yeah, we are. March is spring, isn't it?
It is.
It's currently summer in Australia. This is not appropriate.
We are wearing
summer attire
sweaters today.
Yeah, it is about what, 14 or 15
Something
degrees
like
Celsius. It's quite cool.
Very chilly.
Sometimes at this time of year, at the beginning of February, we have 42 degrees Celsius days. This year it's quite cool. So
but heading into autumn, these Paul Klees, they're both that's a 4-ply sweater. It'll be really nice, and there's a cal going on right now for Paul Klee, which I think ends at the end of March, so there's still time if you wanted to join in on that cal.
That's incentive.
Yeah. You can find information about that on Midori Hirosei's Instagram.
Yep. What else?
Do you have any other whips? If not, it's time to get to the haul.
I've got quite a haul. So I took part in, and it's actually very good timing because another one is about to start. There is a woman in Australia by the name of Gail Stone who started a wool swap, and I think it was back around 2016. She has a website, so it's just woolswap.com.au. On Instagram, she is at woolswap, all one word, and it is exactly as the name suggests. It is a wool swap. I mean, I guess maybe more yarn swap, I think.
Well, I guess it's whatever
fiber
out,
you
right?
like. Yeah. So the process is you sign up, and I believe that she has her next one. Sign up starts on the 1st of March, so it might be a good time to do a little bit of research and see whether it's something that you're interested in doing if you're keen. So you sign up on the 1st of March. I think it's sign-ups are open for about 2 weeks, and once registration closes, you are matched up with someone to swap wool with, and we're not talking stash. We're talking something really lovely that you can send someone in the mail. So I was extraordinarily lucky for my first wool swap. I actually think the bar has been set so high that I might not be able to go again.
You see a lot of the wool swap packages and I'm just like, whoa, I don't know that I could.
They always look incredible.
Yeah.
I felt intense pressure putting one together. So
Where was your partner?
My partner was
international.
So you can opt to go for your own country, and obviously postage is much cheaper if you go in your own country, or you can opt to go internationally. And I definitely wanted the opportunity of getting yarn from somewhere else in the world, so I opted for the international. You can also opt for a minimalist option, which is just 1 or 2 skeins of yarn as well. So if you don't have a big budget, you can still take part. But the idea is that you chat to your partner once you've worked out where you, depending on what you sign up for, and work out how much yarn you're going to sell, swap, post, how much yarn you're going to swap, and then put together something that they'll really love. So I fortunately had a very experienced swapper. So big.
She had done swap before.
She had done swap before. I'm not sure whether she'd done wool swap, but she had done a number of swaps. So big shout out to Kerry in Canada. I won't reveal too much more about her for her own privacy, but she has done lots of swaps, and she was right onto it. Like, she was like, what colors do you like? What yarn do you use? And I was like, oh gosh, I better pick up my game a bit here, because I am rookie swapper. So anyway, I'll post a picture of the full package on Instagram. But today I've just brought along the yarn. So we decided to go with, yarn is similarly priced in Australia and in Canada. We worked out roughly. So a skein of yarn of good quality indie dye yarn in Australia is about 30 Australian dollars. And similar price in Canada, so about 30 Canadian dollars. So we agreed on, I think we agreed on 4 skeins, but then both ended up sending 5. Plus chocolate and candies and teas and hot chocolates and all kinds of things. I have quite the Canadian candy stash in my house at the moment. So this is what she sent. So first off, I've got this beautiful, it's a gradual color change skein from the Yarn Therapist.
I love that name.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
And the colors are very therapy-like, right? They're very pastel and soothing. So the Yarn Therapist is Jennifer Thiel, I think might be how you pronounce her name. It's hand-dyed in Canada. All of my yarn is Canadian, and I was quite clear in my wishes. I was kind of like, I'm quite flexible about what I use. I just would really love Canadian yarn specifically. So this colorway is called Sorbecha, and it's a shawl fade, and it's a 17 micron superwash merino. So really soft and really, really beautiful. And it's about, it's 150 grams, about 600 yards. So
conversion.
I think that's 500 and something No, yards are smaller than meters.
I think the meters are smaller than yards. I'd have to Google it.
Anyway, I'm going to use it for the Cinnabar shawl. And if I run out, I'll deal with it. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Jump on in. What else did I get? I got these two beautiful yarns. They're both fingering weight. They're merino, 90% merino, 10% silk.
I've heard of this brand before, Julie Asselin.
Yeah, it's new to me. But the colorways are gorgeous.
Did you tell her what colors? Because like if I was looking at a display wall of yarn, those are two colors that I would have pegged for you.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk a lot about what we liked, but she absolutely nailed the colors for me.
They're gorgeous.
So the colorways are Poitrun, probably French for something.
Okay, so I see that and I would say pot iron.
Pot iron.
It's very posh.
Potiron.
Whichever.
Pot iron. Anyway, it might be like a copper saucepan.
Yes.
Okay.
There
anyway,
you go.
Love it. Whatever it is. This one I can pronounce. It's called brownstone. So this probably does say pot iron. It's just all one word. Anyway, so they're gorgeous. Both fingering weight skeins. And then
there's more.
I think I mentioned to Carrie that I am a massive Anne of Green Gables fan. And I've always wanted to go to Canada so that I could go to Prince Edward Island.
Yes.
Really any young person with red hair particularly is probably an Anne of Green Gables fan. I can also pretty much recite the musical of Annie. Red-headed orphans seem to be my
Both
thing.
of them.
I was into Oliver as well. I have a bit of an orphan fetish as a child. I'll talk to my therapist about that later. It's fine. Anyway, this yarn is called Anne with an E.
Oh.
So, and it is absolutely gorgeous, speckled, almost duck-egg blue, and it actually it's the colours I think of for like hand-dyed Easter eggs. I don't know why.
Yes. Yes, like a mint
But
green.
I'm absolutely smitten with it. It's by Midnight Cravings Yarn Company, and it's dyed in. You're going to be able to pronounce that.
Saskatchewan.
There we go. That's where it's dyed, in Canada. So it's a light sock merino nylon.
Lovely.
Fingering. And there's one more.
Oh my gosh.
This particular company is probably a really dangerous thing for me to have found.
Okay. So we follow them on Instagram.
We do now, because Carrie early on she was like, are there any Canadian dyes that you like? And she'd provided in her one of her early emails some of her favorite Canadian dyes and colorways that she liked. Very helpful information. Anyway, she asked me which dyes I was into, and I had started looking them up, and we are kind of obsessed with Arcane Fiberworks. So it's I can't remember the dye's name. It's a husband and wife, but the husband does the majority of the dyeing, and based in Canada. And follow them on Instagram, because he does these amazing reels of him dyeing, and they're beautiful and kind of,
I don't know, it's just something about the process of just watching them seemingly randomly, and I say seemingly because there's surely a very well thought out process around that, but you just see them go do 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 with the colors.
Yeah.
Right? And then they show the skein and you're just like, oh my God.
And the particular ones from Arcane Fiberworks, these particular reels, are just an extra level of mesmerizing. So this is one of theirs. I'm going to have to find a really fun project.
Absolutely.
And it's the colorway Not All That Glitters.
Ah,
So there you go. Is gold. So there you go. So lovely.
Beautiful.
Yes.
What fun. Will you do it again?
I will. As I said, I feel like I started on such a high with the lovely Carrie that I'm not sure. It's also, it ends up being quite expensive.
It can be.
It was kind of maybe another Christmas present to myself to participate because by the time you buy 5 skeins of yarn and chocolate and other things and then post internationally, postage is huge, like massive. So I will do it again, but maybe have a little break, or I guess, you know, I could always do a smaller one.
The minimal one?
I could do a minimal one, or just post to someone in Australia as well.
True. Another way to make it a
local.
more affordable.
But I'm so glad I did it. Well worth doing. You know, as a treat for yourself, once or a couple of times a year. It's loads and loads of fun. And I have met a really lovely person on the other side of the world now, who I hope to stay in touch with. So
fantastic. And a great mail day. Who doesn't love a good mail day?
Such a good mail day. I'd actually had an atrocious day at work, and the package came during a really bad meeting, at which point I had to like scurry to the front door. Fortunately, I live in a very small house, so my front door is literally right next to where I do my online work Zoom. And the second the meeting was over, I was like, I need therapy. I need yarn therapy.
You got
I got yarn therapy. So, yeah, fabulous. Great. Should we talk about a pairing for our project?
Let's have a pairing.
So, we think a wine pairing might be appropriate for our Paul Klee, particularly now that we're on to just the nice, regular bodywork stockinette stitch.
Mine's kind of wine coloured.
It is.
That's another good.
You might have to take a photo of a glass of this later.
I think I can do.
Yeah, I think that colourway might work really well. So today we are talking about Timber Tops, which is a Western Australian brand from, quite sure it's from Franklin River. So that's in the Great Southern Wine region.
A little fact about me,
yes.
When it comes to being from Australia, I consider myself from Perth, because that's where we lived initially when after we emigrated.
And have you been to Franklin River?
We have.
Yep. It's a very different wine region.
Yep.
Down in the Great Southern.
I know of it, like when you say that, I immediately think Rieslings.
Lots of beautiful Riesling. Yeah. They're doing quite a few reds there now as well. So if you're not that familiar with Australian wine regions, in Western Australia, so on the west coast of Australia, Margaret River is probably the best known, certainly internationally. They don't make huge volumes of wine, but in terms of the quality level and in terms of the representation around the world, they have quite a slice of the pie. And they focus on Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay and Semillon Sauvignon Blanc blends. Down in Great Southern, it's traditionally, or the very first vineyards planted down there were Riesling. And they now do quite a few reds, and Tempranillo is really starting to gain a following. So this is an unusual wine. It's really, really, really savoury. Quite peppery, really almost like the flavour of dried herbs, and I don't usually lick rocks, but you can imagine the smell of like warm volcanic rock in the midday sun. It's that kind of really beautiful, savory kind of character. So I guess a little bit more of a European style of wine, in that a lot of Australian wine is quite fruity.
I was going to say fruit forward.
Yeah, really
like you might
fruit
get
forward.
that savory finish, but it's
yeah. So there is fruit. There's some lovely sort of cherry characters. There's a bit of licorice there as well. Some like, you know, lovely black fruits, blackberry and that sort of thing. But the really dominant character for me, bit of rhubarb kind of character as well.
Ooh, so
but
some
the really
tartness.
a little bit of tartness, kind of a little bit of the herbaceousness of the smell of fresh rhubarb. Also, but yeah, beautifully savoury, which you don't see. A lot of Australian wines are very fruit bombs without the savouriness. But I do know that there's a bit of a trend in winemaking to try and have a little bit more of that savouriness, because it does go really well with food. So delicious wine. Well,
I think that brings us to the end of our episode today.
And haven't we done well?
Yeah.
It's quite watchable in short periods of time.
Let us know if you like the new format, or what you think, if it's a bit more workable for you.
And as I said, we're planning on releasing more frequently. So you could always wait 2 or 3 weeks and cram some episodes together and do a long session if you prefer your episodes that way. Otherwise, we will see you again soon. And
happy knitting!
Happy knitting. Have a lovely time.